Welcome to the BBB National Programs Podcast Better Series, where we will explore top-of-mind topics with business and industry leaders to understand the leading trends and innovations that continue to push the envelope in today's marketplace.
Thank you for joining us today on the Better Series from the Better Business Bureau National Programs. I'm James Lee, and today we're going to try to make sense of the alphabet soup that is the world of technology, especially cybersecurity, that every small business leader needs to understand. Joining me is an award-winning software developer who holds more than 60 patents and who started his own small business that now serves customers all around the world. John Matthew Holt is the founder and Chief Technology Officer of Waratek, and he joins us from Dublin, Ireland. John Matthew, thanks for being here.
My pleasure, James.
Well, I guess the best place to start the conversation is here. So when you're in the business of creating and providing technology as you are, is it as intimidating to you as it is to the rest of us when we have to figure out what technology to use in our businesses?
Listen, the answer, yes, it is, frankly. Technology covers so many things and so much that it's beyond the grasp of any one person. That's certainly true of myself, even as a guy that works in IT. There are so many subdomains in IT, and there's so many different areas that no one person can really ever hope to be a master of them all. I say a bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's a good example. I might be a programmer and have a particular area that I specialize in, but crikey, Excel spreadsheet formulas are still a mystery to me.
As they are the rest of us. So let's start down the path of talking about a few of the acronyms and terms that we hear all the time, but people may not really know what they mean or how important they are to their business. So let's start with an easy one, and that's SaaS. So SaaS, if you see it written down. And generally we're talking about things like Office 365 or the Google Suite, right? That's what SaaS is. How is that important for people?
Yeah, great question. So SaaS, exactly, it's a funny name, funny pronunciation. Software as a service is what it's short for. And basically it's renting applications. For business owners, business operators, non-technical people using this kind of stuff, you can probably identify that you're using SaaS software if it lives inside a web browser and you didn't install it. So if you didn't have to install it and it comes in a web browser, it's basically SaaS. The attraction of it and the reason it's become prominent or so popular in the last 10 years plus is that it cuts out a lot of the IT drudge work that particularly businesses would do to avail of or make use of an application. So things like having to download software, configure an operating system, set up a server if it runs on a server, or set up the software on your desktop or your laptop. All that stuff goes away when you can just point your web browser to a URL and let the SaaS provider, which is themselves a software developer, let the SaaS provider provide that to you. And it's a pretty important model going forward. Big companies built on it, Salesforce, Workday, examples, Office 365, of course, very popular, very widespread. And the real attraction for anybody, be they consumers on a train, teenagers coming home from school, or be they business owners and business operators, is its instant setup and zero maintenance. And that's particularly important, particularly valuable for enterprise IT folks. So it's a new model, but there are some issues around it and topics around it that are still to be teased out. I think longer term, particularly around things like ownership of your data and how do you access your proprietary data that you end up building and accumulating in these software as a service environments. There are some challenges that in the years ahead we in the industry will increasingly face and have to develop answers for that are adequate for both business owners and operators, and then the regulators and the regulations we all have to comply to. But that's what SaaS is. So is that helpful?
Very helpful. Yeah, I want to come back to part of that in a second, but I want to move on for a second then to another set of letters that people have probably seen, may not know much about, or they may know about it, but they don't realize it, and that is IDS. So what's IDS?
Yes, this is real different from, say, the SaaS stuff and what the SaaS terminology means of applications served to you in the cloud. IDS is something that's not really on the cloud. It's something that, as an enterprise or as a business, you would have this on your own servers or have this on your own networks. And what IDS stands for is intrusion detection systems. And it basically, you can think of them as private eyes on your network or on your servers, usually. So it's a piece of software, it's a series of services that you can install on your servers, on your laptops, desktops, and on your network. It will watch what's going on like a private eye would. It's going to observe the comings and goings, and it's going to try and identify anything suspicious that's going on, and then communicate that to you or the person who's responsible for paying attention to these tools that there might be something going on. So contrast that to, say, the SaaS reference that we just discussed or raised. Applications that are inside a SaaS environment that you consume through the web browser, you would never have a need to use IDS solutions or products for those applications. The responsibility of using IDS for those applications rests with the SaaS provider, the SaaS vendor. But if you have any applications or any networks or servers that you host yourself or you operate yourself, this is where IDS and that solution set, that larger solution set, it becomes a solution set that you may consider to help you start to build a secure foundation for the IT that you operate and are responsible for.
That sounds like a very important distinction. So I want to tease that out just a little bit here. So if you're relying exclusively on the software as a service model, then you don't have to worry about intrusion detection. But if you've got your own software, you need to have a firewall or some other method or an intrusion detection system, something to tell you what's going on within your own organization and the software that you have installed on your own system. Is that fair?
Yeah, bingo, exactly right. That's the distinction. So the who is responsible for the systems or the software that needs to be protected is the person who makes the decision to acquire and to deploy, to utilize IDS solutions and IDS-like solutions. Spot on.
Okay, moving on just a little bit. Okay, three terms people have probably heard, but what's how are they different, how are they alike, and how are they important? So network security versus application security versus endpoint security.
Okay. The three pillars of IT security, full stop, basically. So if we break that down, so there's three, to repeat them, network security is kind of one, number two we'll call application security, and number three we'll call endpoint security. And to break down what they are the security challenges and the products and solutions designed to address those at the network layer, that being the first part, network security, at the application layer, that being the second part, application security, or at the endpoint, and endpoint is a synonym for laptop, desktop, or server, endpoint security being the third area. So altogether, when we, as business owners and IT operators, we look at our IT, quote, our IT estate or our IT infrastructure, it is invariably composed up of those three parts. We're going to have a network somewhere. Maybe it's a Wi-Fi router. Maybe it's something more sophisticated. We're going to have applications, and in this context, we're principally probably talking about locally hosted applications for which you are responsible. That might be applications on your laptop, and your desktop, right down to applications that are installed on servers in your enterprise, like Oracle EBS or IBM WebSphere, SAP, for example. And then finally, endpoint is the management of the security for your laptops and your desktops themselves, meaning protecting essentially the operating system, protecting those computing devices from being taken over by malicious actors. So those are the three pillars of IT security, different tool sets, different disciplines even within the cybersecurity space to address those, different jargon, different terminology, but altogether they become the cybersecurity challenge and the IT security challenges that enterprises and businesses have to deal with and solve. That makes sense. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that is helpful. So here comes the long, slow pitch over the home plate. When you dig down into what are the challenges, the sort of the emerging challenges and the things that are becoming more important over time, we get into terms like WAF and RASP. So there we're talking about application security. So what does a business owner need to know about that?
Yeah, great question. So for short answer is yes, for any business owner that is running their own applications to power their business, then WAF and RASP are going to be the solutions that they're going to be looking to ultimately protect their application. And the reason being that of all of the other pillars of security, network security and endpoint security, those have an application security. It is application security of which WAF and RASP are the two principal types of application security that are able to protect applications like the business applications that businesses need the best. And in this context, the business applications here, examples would be things like Oracle EBS or Oracle Fusion or SAP or business applications that you host either on your own servers or up on the cloud. And the difference really comes down to ultimately the accuracy between those two solutions, the accuracy of WAFs versus the accuracy of RASPs. And it comes from their development. So very quickly, kind of in 30 seconds or so, the web application firewalls, the WAFs, grew out of the network and try to apply their protective abilities by filtering the data that's coming in and out of an application. The problem with that is that has to operate on signatures and past behavior and profiles of previously known attacks, and so it's inherently false positive prone. It produces wrong mistakes or misses attacks. And so most recently, there's been the development of a new class of solutions called RASP, which stands for Runtime Application Self-Protection, and these actually operate inside the application directly on the instructions the application is executing on the CPU, and the value of that is the increased efficacy of these RASP solutions and the increased accuracy. And so business owners and business IT operators that are faced with trying to secure their business applications may have 5 years ago looked at WAFs, which were the only solution. Increasingly now, though, there are these new solutions called RASP, which can deliver better accuracy, better performance, better capability than what the WAFs did, and that's why they are rapidly taking on and growing in popularity for securing business applications around the world.
Sort of last topic then, building to the thing that is the hot topic for everybody when no matter where you are in the life cycle of your business is cloud, either a public or a private cloud. But putting your information or putting your software in a cloud doesn't really absolve you of very many responsibilities. It just means you don't have to have the infrastructure. Is that fair to say that you still have to provide security, even though sometimes people don't remember that and they have big databases in the cloud that don't have a password, as we've seen in the media lately?
Bingo. That's exactly right. The attraction of cloud is essentially one thing, and that is that you don't have to buy the tin. You don't have to buy, manage, install, and operate that physical piece of equipment that you used to 5 or 10 years ago. But everything else is your responsibility. So installing patches for your software is usually in cloud environments your responsibility. In choosing your operating systems, upgrading your operating systems, securing them, putting in the right kind of password management policies so that you don't have databases that are installed on a cloud server that you haven't put a password on, that is your responsibility. So the line of demarcation between who is responsible for what sits generally at the tin level or the server level. Your cloud provider will provide the server, you will rent it, and then you will usually bring your software or choose your software that you deploy on top. And so it is really important, as you said, that business IT folks and the people responsible for IT inside businesses, if they are starting to adopt and use cloud environments, which people are en masse, it makes economic sense to not own those servers. You are not getting out of the responsibility for securing not only the software you put there, but then the applications and the services that you provide. And that is why people need to become smart and become au fait with the security solution sets that are available to secure applications in the cloud. It's really important.
John Matthew, I know we could talk for hours, so we'll have to save some of our other topics for another time. But I appreciate you joining us today and sharing the information, because I know it'll be helpful to folks as they listen to our podcast.
My pleasure, James.
So John Matthew is the founder and CTO of Waratek. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us today. And thank you for listening to the Better Business Bureau's Better Series podcast. You can hear more great episodes on iTunes or your favorite streaming platform. We'll be back soon with another episode to help you grow your business with the latest trends and information.
You just enjoyed the Better Series podcast. Be sure to tune in next time for a brand new episode. To learn more about our other shows, visit betterbusiness.blueberry.com. That's betterbusiness.blueberry.com. Follow us on Twitter at BBB_NTL programs. Send your comments and ideas to podcasts@bbbnp.org. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are the views and opinions of the guest, not those of the BBB National Programs or its affiliates. This podcast is for information and educational purposes only and is copyrighted with all rights reserved. This podcast is protected by Blueberry's Terms of Service.